Hello everyone, and welcome to my review for Record of Ragnarok, Episode 10. In this episode, we get Kojiro's backstory and the start of the battle in Round 3, and it's pretty good, so let's talk about it. For animation, I feel like this episode was probably the most consistent out of the episodes we've gotten thus far. Poseidon's, flurry of strikes, Amphitrite was pretty well animated, not really any issues with that. Kojiro looked good, albeit it looked not as dramatic as it was in the manga. It was just kind of him barely stepping out of the way of these kind of smaller strikes, but we'll see how things look when we get into the crazier attacks in this round, because when it comes to visuals, this fight gets pretty wild. I would say, however, the best animation in this episode would be when Poseidon dodges Tsubame Geishi. So, Tsubame Geishi had a few still frames in it, which I expected, but we actually had some pretty good animation for when he dodges it. The leaning back, just barely the blade passes by his head and you just see the few little strands of hair fall away. That looked really good. That's probably some of the best animation we've gotten so far. I was a big fan of that. In terms of overall animation, I would say this fight is off to a stronger start than the previous two, so I am pretty pleased about that. Now, there's one thing in this fight that I'm not the biggest fan of so far, and it's how they've been changing the names of things. They started off by saying that Kojiro is number one under the sun, which is just... It sounds so fucking silly. The original translation, or at least the translation we're all used to, is saying he's unparalleled under the heavens, which is cool. Number one under the sun sounds like the name of a band or something. Very strange. I'm not caring for it. It sounds kind of silly, every time they fucking say it. It takes them 10 seconds to say his title or his achievement or whatever. The other one is the way they've changed the name of Kojiro's sword, and that it doesn't have a name. Instead of saying its name, Mono Hoshizao, they keep saying it's 1.5 meters long drying pole forged by so-and-so, and they say that every time that they're referring to his sword, instead of just saying, oh, the Mono Hoshizao. It's why? Why? It's so dumb. I don't understand why the fuck they did that. It's so weird. Now, there is one good name change that I am not sure is actually a name change, and that's the 1,000 image defense. Now, the 1,000 image defense already sounds cool, but that's not the name in Japanese, so I assume in this case they just kept the Japanese name, which is Senju Muso, which sounds pretty fucking awesome. This is the opposite case of Eyes of the Lord getting turned into Divine Reflection. Yeah, instead, we turned 1,000 image defense and just kept the Japanese name. Senju Muso sounds pretty cool. So that one I'm actually pretty happy with. Most of the notable directing choices came from the flashback for Kojiro, and that was really good overall. I really like Kojiro's backstory in the manga, and I think they did a pretty good job with it here as well. Not really anything bad about it. Not really anything I have complaints about. They had some still frames, but they were kind of images that you would almost expect to have a still frame for. When his master's unsheathing his sword and he's got his big tiger aura in the background. I really liked the way that his backstory was done. Always going back through round 3 makes me really appreciate Kojiro's character. I really love him a lot. The way that his master talks about the fact that he did not train to become stronger so that he could fight other people or to show off in front of others. It was simply for the sake of becoming a better swordsman. And that's something I really like about Kojiro's character, and that he is the world's greatest loser because he hasn't really been interested in fighting and beating people. All he's really wanted, for the most part, is to just better himself as a swordsman. He's like an artist, like how an artist wants to improve their own artistic skills. He's kind of like someone who draws all the time but never shows it to anyone because they... Well, in Kojiro's case, it's because he wasn't very good at fighting people. Or he became good, but he wasn't on the level of all of the other masters of the time, which is why he went around and fought them, quote-unquote. I guess it'd be more accurate to say he went around and got beaten by them. So then he could figure out how to beat them. So yeah, it's always good to go back through Kojiro's backstory. I like it a lot. We got more of Kojiro's voice acting in this episode. We got actually multiple voice actors for Kojiro. We got young Kojiro and, present-day old man Kojiro. And I actually thought that they made a really good choice with young Kojiro, too. They seem to have really nailed the voice acting cast once again. Props to them for that. And Poseidon. Oh man, Poseidon. I like this moment in the manga better, I think. Or not in the manga. I like this moment in the anime better, actually. So in the manga, Poseidon says, "Oh, you insignificant piece of shit," which is like really mean, kind of over the top. Calling someone an insignificant piece of shit is something you say when you're like an anime villain or whatever. But in the anime, Poseidon says, "Oh, I thought you could read people's moves, you loser." I'm like, oh my god, that's so fucking petty and dumb. I love it. Because Poseidon heard them talking about Kojiro, calling him history's greatest loser. So of course this prick would be like, God, you're such a loser. Holy shit, you goddamn scrub. You loser. He feels like a fucking preppy bully in high school. Which is perfect for him, because that might as well be what Poseidon is. He's a fucking asshole who exerts his will over other people without any regard for others. Oh man. This makes me really excited for some of the moments we have coming up in the next 2 episodes. So, yeah, needless to say, I'm pretty excited about that. I am quite pleased with this fight so far. I'm very happy with it. Thor versus Lubu would probably be like a 6 or 7. Adam versus Zeus would be like a 5. That was pretty poorly adapted. Like, Adam versus Zeus is a very fast, high-paced fight, and that was not really translated well at all. This fight is pretty good so far. This is pretty good. I'd say it's like an 8. I think this is probably going to end up being like an 8 out of 10 fight by the end of it. I don't know, maybe if they do something really crazy and just blow me away, it'll be like a 9 out of 10 fight. Yeah, so, needless to say, very excited for that, and, we'll see what happens in the next episode, which I'm going to watch as soon as I am done putting this video together. So, with that, that's all I have to say about episode 10 of Record of Ragnarok. If you enjoyed, please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and click that notification bell so you don't miss any of my uploads. I do Record of Ragnarok chapter reviews every month, and I'm going to be finishing up my anime episode reviews today, so you should subscribe so you don't miss any of those. If you enjoy other series such as Jujutsu Kaisen and Kengan Omega, I do videos on those series as well, so if you're interested in those, you should definitely check out my channel. If you enjoy discussing Record of Ragnarok with other people, or you just enjoy the content I produce on this channel, I highly suggest you check out my Discord server. I have a link to that down in the description. And since it's the end of the video, it's time to give a shout out to my wonderful patrons, Archbear, CJ2K, Fuse, Neo, Dejon Redden, Anthony Chavez, Honey Mustard, Zach Rowitz, K-God, Chris Redfield, Scratch23, Moonshadow935, Rat, and Ryzen 4K. Thank you all very much for supporting me on Patreon. I greatly appreciate it. And if you too want to get a shout out at the end of videos or access to reviews for Solo Leveling and The Boxer, you can always become a patron as well. There's a link to my Patreon down in the description. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys around. Take care.